Hey guys, we're Red. I'm starting part 5. Um, sorry. Um, he's just trying to calm my mood because this is gonna be the start of the hardest parts. This is go- gonna take like, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be like 10 or 15 parts to my story, so, because my life was crazy. Um, okay, so living with my mom's mom. Once school ended that year, my grandpa had gotten a job in Salt Lake. So my grandparents were selling their house, and we had to move in with my dad's mom. And uh, my mom was, uh, well, let me back up just a little, because that was when I was 16, actually. Because I got my license. Well, we moved in with her right before I got my license. Because I got my license when I lived at my dad's mom. But before I got my license, I'd spend a lot of time uh, hanging out with my friend, and I'm trying to think. I have to think of a name to use, or I'm gonna have to reach out to her and see if it's okay if I use her name. But me and her used to hang out all the time, and she was a year older than me, so she had a license already. And so she'd take me over to my brother's apartment sometimes, and I just stay there overnight a lot and clean my brother's apartment because he was out on his own now, and he was dating this girl that lived diagonally across the street. I mean, not across the street, but diagonally across the hall, on the third floor of his apartment building. The steps up it were all stone. I'd go over there, and my brother had friends that were over 21. They'd get alcohol. Um, my so I'd go over and I'd drink with my brother all the time. Um, one time the cops knocked on his door and asked to use his phone, and we were all drunk. They didn't card any of us. They just, it was for something that was going on in another apartment, and they needed to contact dispatch, I guess. It was kind of funny, though, because we're all sitting there trying to stay straight-faced, and we're all just, like, trying not to bust out laughing, especially when my brother was having a, like, conversation, and my brother's a comedian type person. It was hard, but, one day I had been hanging out with his girlfriend across the hall, and me and her had been drinking screwdrivers all day, which is vodka and orange juice. And so by the time my brother got off work and got back to the apartment, I was already pretty drunk. And we went over to his apartment and we did shots of Aftershock cinnamon. Yeah, that stuff's gross. And then we went back over to his girlfriend's apartment, and I was on her computer. And back in the early days of the internet, there wasn't much to do on there, but I was playing chess with this person I played with many times before, and we were talking, and he was saying that he's going to be coming to Colorado to visit a family member, and was wanting to know if we wanted to meet up. And of course that's something you just don't do, but of course, again, nobody taught me about stranger danger, nobody told me, blah, blah, blah. Likely me and him never met. And these 3 guys showed up at my brother's girlfriend's, and like I said, we were already pretty drunk by the time my brother got home. So his girlfriend was flirting with one of them and sitting on his lap, and my brother's right there. And so he asked her to go step into the bedroom to talk, and you can hear them arguing and stuff, but I was pretty drunk. I didn't really pay that much attention until a phone went flying past my head. You know, and it was a house phone. There was, like I said, it was just the cell phones were rarely used back then because of the rates and charges and stuff. It was horrid. So this house phone goes flying past my head and crashes into the wall. And I kind of like just ignored it and brushed it off. And they went into the hallway and was still arguing. And the next thing I hear is my name being yelled. So I tell my friend I gotta go. Well, I don't tell him I gotta go yet, actually. I went out and stuck my head into the hall. I'm like, what? And he's all like, go to my apartment and stay there for the rest of the night. I was like, fine, let me just tell my friend bye. So I go back in and I tell him bye, and I turn off the computer and I go back into his apartment. And by that time, I think I had like 3 shots of Aftershock cinnamon on top of already being drinking screwdrivers all day. But I went and laid down on my brother's bed, and I passed out immediately. Next thing I know, I'm getting woke up with a flashlight in my eye, and my brother's sitting on the side of the bed. And he goes, hey, I'm getting arrested. I'm going to jail tonight. Are you going to be okay? And I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. And I fell right back asleep. And I don't know what time it was, but I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was running for the bathroom, puking the whole way. Pink. So there was permanent pink dots stained in my brother's apartment carpet from the bedroom to the bathroom. And I did that twice, and the second time I woke up and threw up, I went into the kitchen to get a glass of water. Well, actually, it was after the first time. Nobody ever told me don't drink water when you drink alcohol because it'll make it worse. And I go walking out towards the kitchen, and those same 3 guys that were in his girlfriend's apartment were sitting in my brother's apartment. I can't remember if I think they were playing cards or sitting on the couch talking. I can't remember exactly what they were doing, but they were in the living room area, and I'm like, just walked into the kitchen. I didn't even say a word. I just walked into the kitchen, got a glass of water, looked at them over my shoulder, drank it really quick, walked back to the bedroom, and passed back out. Yeah, I woke up again, throwing up again. I didn't even go check to see if they were still there or not the second time I woke up. When I woke up in the morning, I was looking out the back sliding door and saw my brother's work vehicle drive off. So I was thinking, okay, well, he must have got out and he went to work. So I sat there and cleaned my brother's apartment and messed around with my brother's movies. And periodically through the day, there was a knock at the door. And it would be 2 of the 3 guys. Either, and it was like one of them always came back with one of the other ones. And ironically, I'm going to go ahead and use his name because I'm just not going to say his last name, but ironically, his name was Steve. But he was a 31-year-old guy, really good looking for a 31-year-old. And another one of them ended up becoming my brother's roommate later on, and he was gay. Not Steve, but the other one. But it was just, will you stop it? Stop it. So, when my brother didn't come home after work, I found out that it was his boss that had come and picked up the vehicle, and that my brother was still in jail. And so was his girlfriend. And so I contacted my friend to come get me, and I went and stayed at her house, because this was during summer break or spring break, or one of the breaks from school. So the next day after that, we ran out of smokes, and me and her weren't old enough to buy any. So we thought, well, maybe Andy's out of jail. Sorry, my brother was out of jail. And we went back to his apartment, and there was no answer. And we were just about to leave and try to think of something else when Steve came up the stairs. The 31-year-old Steve. He was apartment sitting for my brother's girlfriend. And I said, hey, could you take us over to the smoke shop, and could you buy us a pack of smokes? We'll give you the money for it. And he was like, yeah, sure. And so we went over, and me and my friend stayed in the car, and he went in and got us a pack of smokes, and then we went back to my brother's girlfriend's, and we're hanging out with Steve. And I don't know how it started, but we all started like doing a massage train. Like, we were giving each other back rubs in a line. And my friend had to leave because I think she had a job at that time or something. She just had to go, and she asked me if I was going to be okay, and I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. And she's like, all right, I'll be back in a few hours or whatever, because I think she only worked part-time, so it was like 4 hours. I was like, okay. And after she left, he was rubbing my back, and his hand went down the front of my shirt. And I didn't stop him. I didn't tell him no. I didn't ask him, hey, don't do that. I'm too young for you, or nothing. I went with it. I know. But age is just a number to me. And
everyone in the comments just like, what?
yeah. Let me just say though, best primo. And I ended up sleeping with him 2 or 3 times. But he was going to be moving out of state. So, and I think that's the reason why I think I was the reason why he was going to move out of state, because he didn't want to get in trouble for being with a 15-year-old when he's 31. But not the night before, but 2 days before his bus was to head out, I was riding with my friend, and we were heading to her house, and we came up to a light, and these 2 guys, teenage boys, in another like white SUV stopped next to us and rolled down their window, and they're like trying to get us to roll down ours, and I didn't. They were like, hey, could you give us directions to, I think it was a restaurant, like the Pizza Hut restaurant. And we're like, yeah, but the light's about to change, so just follow us to our friend's house and then we'll tell you how to get there.
Not a good idea.
That was her idea. Not a good idea.
You don't do that stuff.
Nope.
He's like, I'm sorry, the light's about to change. I think it's a couple streets down. You might want to take a right, maybe.
Well, it was complicated to try and explain in like 2 seconds. So, we had them follow us up. And they offered to buy us dinner and stuff, so they're like, how about you just, one of you ride with us, or ride with one of us in our vehicle, and then one of us will ride in your vehicle, so that way if we get separated, we can get there, and we'll follow, our SUV will follow your car. Well, since I didn't have a license, I went to ride with their friend, and, well, that one of them, and the other one hopped into my friend's car. We were getting down to where the high school was at, and at the light for the school, he suddenly veered into the turn lane and turned onto the road that goes down for the schools. And he pulls into the middle school, which was next to the high school, and pulls behind it. Hold on, I gotta pause for a second. Sorry, had to prep myself because I don't tell this story very often, and two of my kids are around. I kept asking him, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he pulled out his dick and put his hand on the back of my head and was trying to force me to go down on him. I had my phone and it was for emergencies only, so I figured, hey, this is an emergency. So I called my friend and I left it on and just kept saying, we're behind the middle school, we're behind the middle school, we're behind the middle school. Him still trying to force me on him. Next thing I see is headlights and my friend's pulling in behind us. And he grabbed me by my necklace, which was kind of close to a choker almost. I had gotten it at the Renaissance Fair. It was all bells. And it broke. So I'll never see that. I've never seen that necklace since. And he ripped my shirt a little. But I got out of the vehicle, and his friend got out of my friend's car, and the hardest thing was passing him. Because it was like, seemed like he knew. And I got in the car, and my friend's all like, I knew something was wrong when he veered off, and I kept asking his friend, where did they go? Where did they go? Where did they go? And he wouldn't tell her. So we got back to my friend's place, and I was just in an emotional wreck. I was crying. I called 31-year-old Steve and was begging him to just comfort me. He wouldn't do it. But uh, I got my license shortly after, and my first car was a Mitsubishi Mirage Coupe Hunter Green. It was 2-door, it was standard. Hold on a second. Hey, didn't hit pause. Ah. Okay, so when I got my license, like the biggest hangout for everybody was Denny's. I know, pretty stupid, huh? And we always went to this Denny's close to these condos that were being built, and because that's where my parents were having their condo built.
Spaceship.
Thank you for that. Anyway, so my friend had gotten a boyfriend who was a manager at the Denny's, and I was still single. Whatever.
I don't know if she's ready to mingle though.
Not really. But I was back at my high school, even though we were living in a totally different city, because we were living in Littleton, and the high school I wanted to go back to was in Aurora. But since I had my license, I was allowed to. So I'd drive all the way to Aurora every morning to go to school. And I got all my old friends back and everything, and homecoming was coming up. And this was my sophomore year.
And you're like, for sure someone's gonna ask me.
No, wait, this was my junior year, I think.
So mine ago.
Yeah, my junior year.
About the time you left.
And, there was this one guy who, I don't even think he really asked me. I think I asked him, because it was like the next day and neither one of us had been asked, so. He was, I think, like a freshman or sophomore, so he didn't have his license. So I had to pick him up.
Okay.
Anyway, and I had a friend that didn't have a date, so she was just gonna tag along with me. So we get there, and this guy's not even ready yet. And, son,
Sorry.
anyway, found out that he was bringing a friend too, but his friend wasn't even in high school. His friend was 21. And
Oh,
he was 6'2".
are you ready to meet my dad?
He was 6'2". You wonder where you get your heights from.
Yeah, that's just me standing up.
And I didn't actually feel comfortable around him in that house, waiting for the guy that I was going with. Anyway, so we go to the dance, and you're gonna make a mess, and I vacuumed, dude.
No.
Anyway, we get there, and I automatically ask the guy I was going with, if we could go do pictures, because my parents didn't even believe me that I had a date.
They don't believe anything at this point.
No, they don't believe anything I say. Ever.
There's like,
Hey, that's inappropriate.
It's true though.
It is true, but it's inappropriate. Anyway. And he said, we'll do that later. It's like, okay. And we get into the gym, and he starts looking around. And he darts. He was meeting up with another girl there.
Mm-hmm. And Mom was just like, really? Really?
So I just went over to a table and sat down and looked at the floor like...
Why is she sitting now?
No, but I was looking at the floor. Like this. And this guy would come with us, kneels before me, and tells me that what his friend did was really messed up and wrong, and that he would never do that to me if I had been his date.
Which is true.
And asked
Oh,
if...
sorry.
Yeah, just smacked me upside the back of the
I'm
head.
sorry, Mom. I'm sorry.
And asked if I wanted to dance.
Remember my name. It's probably because you think you're cooler than me. Oh, you know.
Anyway, so me and him hung out the rest of the time we were there, and suddenly my date shows back up at the end of the night because he needs to ride home.
He's just like,
And I was like, we're not gonna go home right away. Mm-mm. So we went to the park, and I ripped this kid a new one. So did his friend.
You. I don't like my dad. I don't like him at all.
We'll use his nickname, Cage. So, I dropped them off at the guy's house, and a day or two later, I was up at the 7-Eleven, just up from the high school, because they'd gotten rid of Smoker's Corner at the school. Yeah, there used to be a smoking area for the kids at the high school. So we all would go up to 7-Eleven because there wasn't any gas pumps at that one. And we'd smoke up there. And I ran into Cage again. And he asked if I wanted to go to the movies. Yeah, first time I ever ditched a class. Yeah, I went to the movies with Cage. And he explained to me that he was homeless. Will you please get your brain away from me?
No, I was just sorry.
Yeah, in a really bad spot.
I guess it wasn't that.
I almost made the call. Lemonade, not sponsored. Wish we were.
Strawberry lemonade, also not sponsored.
Luxury.
Anyway, well, I'm a nice, caring person. So I contacted my friend because she just got an apartment and asked if he could stay on her floor. She didn't have much furniture. And like that worked for like 2 days before she's like, I can't. Mm-mm. So then like
He's tech.
so then he started living in my car pretty much. I had a job. I worked at one of our other studio store at the mall. So he would ride with me to work, walk around the mall all night, ride home with me and sleep in my car out front of my grandma's house.
Without her knowing.
And it's hard to be where, like I told you, my mom always made me wear baggy clothes and everything. That still applied, even now, even then, you know. And so, what I do is I wear tight clothing under my baggy clothes, and then as soon as I got around the corner, top layer went off. But the hard thing was trying to get those clothes washed without my mom finding them. Or my grandma finding them. Recently, I went out on a trip to my grandma's house. And I came up the stairs in these pants that had holes up the sides. Because I was going to karaoke, and you should have seen the look she gave me.
It was like the death stare.
I think she even said gross. I think I heard her say gross. It's kind of funny. But anyway, so only one time, one night, I made Cage slide through a tiny ass window. How I got him to get through that window is beyond me. Into the basement of my grandma's house, and he slept inside with me. Once. Only once.
Well, until later.
No, I mean at grandma's house.
That's what I said. That's why I said until later.
Well, my mom, before I got my license, asked if I was sexually active, and I said no. Because you don't tell my mom that kind of stuff.
She asked me that stuff. I was like, heck no. I was going straight to my teeth.
So, she said, well, worst case scenario, if you were to become active and you ended up pregnant, just know that I'd be here for you, and we work together on raising the baby. And
you'd think, oh, nice supporting mom.
And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, maybe my mom's finally wanting to be a part of my life.
No.
Well, I was late on my period. And so I went to my mom and told her I think I might be pregnant. She took my job away because she took my car. She took my car, she took my job, she took my phone. And said that I'd be moving to Utah to live with my grandma in Salt Lake City. And pretty much disowned me on the spot. She even had my dad go and pick a pregnancy test, which it was still too early to determine. But I contacted Cage and told him what had happened, and me and him decided that he wanted, if I was, he wanted to be there for the baby. So we went, and the next day I had packed as much as I could into a small box. My dad drove me to school. Asked me what the box was. I told him it was a science project. And he dropped me off at the school, and I went in and I used the payphones at the school, and I called Cage and I told him I was ready. And his friend came in with him and picked me up from the school. And look, I got this like wrap around here. And then we went to my job. I went and got my last paycheck. And we went and cashed it. And we went and bought 2 bus tickets to Austin, Texas. jumped on a bus. And this was in November. Little did I know that it was actually my parents' wedding anniversary that I decided to jump on a bus. And my mom's never forgiven me for it. Ever. Ever, ever. So, we get to Austin, and we walk from the bus stop to a friend of Cage's. I'll call him Ken. I know what his name is, but I'll call him Ken. It's close, but it's not his name. And Ken had been in a fire at a younger age, and he had a lot of scars. But that didn't bother me, you know. But it was an atmosphere I'd never been in before. There was another guy. There was a couple of people living in Ken's house. Even one of them was sleeping in the garage. His bedroom was the garage. And when I first met the one that was staying in the garage, he was doing nitrous, I think. The whipping cream silver canisters. I didn't even know what they were doing. It was just, okay. And he had this bong named Gladys. I couldn't even show you in frame how big she is. But she was probably about a 4.5 foot tall bong and about that big around. I'd never smoked pot before. And Cage kept trying to get me to smoke with him. Oh, in the room we were staying in, there was a fold-out bed, and that was our bed, and there was broken glass in it. Telling you the environment. Oh, and there's cockroaches stuck in the clock dial of the stove. Gross place. But I mean, like, and I was starving pretty much because everybody had their distinguished cabinet space and ours was always empty. Because none of us had money, neither me or Cage. So I'd go to the convenience store on the corner and I'd steal 10-cent brownies. Because I didn't want to steal high-priced stuff. Because I didn't like even the thought of stealing the brownies. But about a week into us being there, I miscarried. Huh? Yeah. And I didn't want to go to the hospital because then my mom would know where I was at. So I went through that very scared. It's a foreign place to me. I was surrounded by weird people who was always doing drugs. I mean, they weren't smoking pot. They were doing nitrous. If they weren't doing nitrous, they were on shrooms or acid. I wasn't into that stuff, so I didn't do that. Cage did mushrooms around me once, and he was like, while we were there, and he was like, I'm never doing that again. after the miscarriage, I decided to go ahead and try pot. And Cage and the guy who was doing nitrous the first time I met him decides, let's smoke out of glass. So, naturally, when I take my very first hit, I didn't feel it. Well, Cage starts giving me crap. And so then he takes one full hit and shotguns it to me. And then he fills Gladys again and has me take it. I was so stoned, you couldn't see the whites of my eyes. They were red. And it took me 5 minutes to realize that I had walked from the bedroom to the bathroom. And I was so nauseous, but yet my throat was so dry. But I was scared to drink anything because I was scared I'd throw up. And I was dizzy. And Cage wanted to go to the store because his friends were going to the store and wanted to go with him. So it took me another 5 minutes to realize I had gone from the bathroom back into the bedroom and was attempting to put on my shoes. And when they saw the state I was in, they decided that I could stay at the house by myself and that they'd just go without me. So I just laid there with the world spinning. Little did I know that I actually had Meniere's disease, and bad mix. Because Meniere's is a inner ear condition that causes dizzy spells and your equilibrium to be way off, and it causes hearing loss. And like if I'm having an episode, I'll be walking down a hall or walking somewhere, and I'll just run into the wall. And it'll come out of nowhere too. And the only times it's really scary is if I'm driving. Otherwise, I keep it pretty good under control. Stress can cause it to flare up. So I've had a few episodes recently, but not any severe ones. The best way to maintain it is with potassium. So eating a banana. And keeping your stress levels under control. Which is why I'm as strong as I am, and I'm really good at thinking about positive things more than thinking about negative things in my life. That's why this is also so hard for me to share my stories and everything like that. So, there was this one girl that came over and hung out a lot. She was pregnant. And Cage wanted to go to another friend's house, but it was like,
Why aren't you telling me that name?
because I don't want to. I could call him by his real name. I mean, like, first name, because he doesn't go by that.
You didn't do it.
Okay, James. But he, but it wasn't like within walking distance or anything, so we needed a ride. And so this pregnant girl's all like, okay, yeah, I got a car, we'll give you a ride. Well, she decided to do acid right before giving us a ride. Pregnant. scariest ride of my life. I don't know if anybody's who's watching this has gone through Austin during rush hour. And with somebody on acid. Oh. It's stop and go traffic, and this girl is weaving through the cars. I mean, leaving barely a freaking inch between her and other vehicles. I was terrified. So we get there, and I'm bored out of my mind. Because James is just sitting there playing Diablo. And I'm doing nothing. And I can't remember what the pregnant girl was doing. Probably doing more drugs. Or drinking or something. But I didn't want to leave either. Because I didn't want to get back in the car with her. I was like, I really don't want to die. But I figured an hour and a half later, rush hour should be over. So I finally started complaining that I wanted to go home. Well, back to Ken's. And
I just mean Ken was not like Ken doll kind of Ken.
so she drove us back, and I was able to get a job, but I never received a single paycheck from them because they wanted my social security card and I didn't have it because it was with my mother. And I was working at Warner Brothers Studio Store. And one night when I come home, or left work, I rode a bus to get to work. And it was a pretty far walk from the bus stop back to Ken's, but I always had to walk it at night. And Ken's house was not in a very good neighborhood at all. And I was walking in the dark along a stretch of the road where there wasn't any houses around. It was by a field. And this guy tried to mug me. Pulled a knife on me. And I said, dude, I have nothing. Like, literally. I turned my pockets inside out. I said, I have nothing. He walked away. Left me alone. Then, I found out I was pregnant again.
Wait, me? Yay!
And,
Here comes me.
I was walking back from the corner store where I'd stolen some more brownies. And this guy pulls up next to me thinking I'm a crack whore. And I told him to fuck off. That I wasn't. And he started chasing me with his car. Trying to run me over. And I'm running down the road going, please don't, I'm pregnant, please. And I ran to this other girl's house first. We called her Kat. I started pounding on her door, but she wasn't home. And this other guy who had seen what had happened came up behind me or came up behind him and chased the guy off. And then he asked me if I was okay, and I said, yeah, I live around the corner. I'm gonna go home. And that's where I'm gonna pause it for today, or on this one, because this is going to be the longest video. I looked down at the time. But, so, next part is the rest of my life in Austin. I was in Austin for 5 months, and it's the craziest 5 months of my life. But thanks for the watch, guys. Peace.